IBM Forms Experience Builder, commonly referred to as FEB, is a web-based tool that enables business users to create applications for data collection. Access to the data can be restricted based on specific roles, and the data can be routed to different people as part of a light workflow. After you design your form, you circulate its URL to be filled by your intended audience, and then you can view responses as they are captured. As you can see here, we have some basic charts and the individual data records are listed here. After logging in, the first screen that you will see is what we refer to as the FEB Manage page. This is where you can create new applications or edit ones that you may have created previously. When you create an application, you get to define who has access to it. On the Use tab, each user will only see applications where access has been granted by the application owner. The results on both of these pages can be filtered by application name or by a tag. The list can also be sorted by name and by date. From this page, you can export an application and all of its data as a package and save it to your computer. This package could then be imported back into FEB. This is common when designing an application on a development server and then migrating it to production. In this case, I'm going to edit an application that I've already started. The design space is made up of a few different sections. The first thing to note is that along the top of the design space are a series of tabs that will take you to a different section where features have been grouped by function. We will look at each of these in depth. The Forms tab is the default tab. On this tab, we can see the primary design space, which is made up of a palette, a canvas, and an outline view. The canvas is a basic grid layout. You can add additional rows and columns by clicking on the canvas border and selecting the desired option. The horizontal gray line indicates the current cell where an item will be placed. I have two options when it comes to placing items from the palette to the canvas. I can click on the item in the palette and it will appear in the current cell, or I can click and drag an object from the palette to the canvas. Once an item is on the canvas, I can change how it relates to the grid by clicking and dragging the lower left corner. I can also move items from one cell to another. Some of the item properties can be set directly on the canvas. For example, the label of an object or whether it's required or not. There are a few actions that can be performed on every item that is placed on the canvas. These appear as icons in the top right corner. The actions are edit properties, edit rules, duplicate item, and delete item. Each item has its own set of properties. And the properties dialog is divided into 4 sections: basic, advanced, formula, and events. Properties like title, if the field is required, and help information and much more can be seen in these dialogs. I'm going to enter a few selections for our dropdown. Many fields can be included in a formula to dynamically set its value based on some criteria, like the concatenation or sum of 2 fields, or the sum of a table column. On the Events tab, you can include custom JavaScript that will get executed when a specific event is triggered. As an example, I will add a little bit of JavaScript here. An application can contain multiple forms. To create additional forms, we look to the outline view. This view is also how we navigate between the different forms when in the design space. A form can also have multiple pages. And I'll just create one here as an example. One cool thing to note is that we can also copy objects from one page to another by dragging the object over the page we want to copy to and then dropping the object in the desired cell. But I'm going to move this back for now. On the Settings tab, we can change the language and regional options for the application. We can also edit the application name and description. On the left side, we see an additional navigation structure, which is something you will see on many of the tabs. Under Files, you can add images, cascading style sheets, and JavaScript files that you may use in your application. The files can be copied into the application, or they can be referenced directly from an internet link. Services is the place where you will find all of your service configurations. Every form in the application will be listed here and will contain its services. FEB is built on a REST architecture, which means that every form you build can also be a service. This means that one form can push or pull information from another form. You can also have services that access your corporate LDAP, Internet Web Services, and custom services. The Events tab is a centralized hub where you can see all the JavaScript that is used throughout the application. As an example, you can see the line of JavaScript here that I added to my drop-down field. It shows in this list here. On the Stages tab, we can quickly and easily create a light workflow that our form will follow. Every form begins with a start and end stage. A form moves to the next stage when it is submitted. It is important to note that when a form is in the end stage, that record can no longer be updated. We can add stages by clicking the green plus button here at the top. We can rename the stages to something meaningful, and then we can determine what happens to the form when the user clicks submit. So from the start stage, when they click submit, I might want the form to advance to the review stage. We can also add additional submit buttons to the form that might direct the form to a different stage based on conditional data in the form. Each submit button has its own properties, and there are certain activities that can be triggered. You can choose to send an email or call a service, or maybe assign users to a role. It is common to send an email to the next actor in the workflow and include a link to the form that requires their action. When the user receives the email and clicks the link, it will launch the form directly, allowing them to complete their step in the workflow. The functions of the canvas change when you enter the Stages mode. The actions that appear when you hover over an item are different. Here you can see we have properties, we have click to hide in this stage, and click to make read-only in this stage. By using these properties, you can make certain items visible in certain stages. An example of this might be a form with, say, 3 stages: start, manager review, and end, that has a set of fields that must be filled out by the manager after an employee has submitted a form. There is no need to show these manager fields to the employee, so we can hide them in the start stage by clicking this icon for each of those fields. The Access tab is where we determine who has access to fill out this form: view, update, or delete the data. There are 3 default roles that are part of every application. Administrator is the role that can edit the application. Initiator is the role that can launch and fill out the form, and record owner keeps track of who created each submitted record. We can also create additional roles that match our business process. roles can be open or closed. Open means that the role can be set dynamically, and closed means that the role must be set during the design time. All the stages for each form are listed under the stage settings section. For each stage, you can decide who has read, create, and update and delete permission. It's very important that you review every stage of each form and set the permissions according to your business need. The design settings determines which roles have edit permission, that is the permission to edit the application, and also determines who can see the services that are generated by this FEB application. Remember previously that I said all FEB applications are services that can be called by other FEB applications. This is where you get to set the permission for others to see those services. Typically, only the administrator should be set here. The Style tab is where you can change the design of the application. There are 3 built-in themes that you can choose from. You can also create your own themes by creating the cascading style sheet and attaching them to the application. When your form is complete, save, and then go back to the Manage page, and then click Deploy. You can set a time frame for the app to remain deployed, or you can leave it as indefinite. Once an application has been deployed, you can now circulate this link to your audience to begin collecting responses. I can also click Launch to launch the form. The form is loaded. I can now fill it out. And we see my JavaScript executing there, showing the alert of what I selected. And now I click Submit. When we come back to the Manage page, we can click this View Responses link. This link will take me to a page where I can see all the records that have been submitted. I can customize this view by removing or resizing columns. I can also export the data as Excel, XML, or open document formats. The View Responses page also has a Summary tab that will show me some basic charts for the submitted data. The charts are dynamically created, and all non-text fields that have a data type like number or currency will have corresponding charts. There is more that can be said and should be considered for all the features mentioned as you begin to build applications with FEB. Keep an eye out for more detailed videos to come. This concludes the overview of IBM Forms Experience Builder. For more information, visit the IBM Knowledge Center and also check out the DevWorks community for Forms Experience Builder, where you'll find an active community, helpful examples, and additional documentation on all things FEB. Thank you.